Paul, you are reminded that you are still under oath, eh?
Yes, my lord.
Yes, Mr. Mufti.
Thank you, Lord. Mr. Gopal, before the adjournment, we were discussing Joseph and Dooley. Remember that?
Yes.
Were you present also at the interrogation of Yunus Sheikh as an escort?
Interrogation of Yunus Sheikh? No, I was not present.
Yes.
At the interrogation of Yunus Sheikh. Yunus Sheikh I do know. Okay, the part that most probably, okay, as non-white members within the branch, right, compared to white members, okay, we were tasked to do certain work within the branch. Like, for example, take out a detainee from the cells and hand him over to Warden Officer Devet. Take a detainee to the doctor. Take a detainee to, he needs a fresh set of clothing. Go and organize him a fresh set of clothing. Take a detainee from the cells, take him to the district surgeon. Take a detainee to a hospital. These were tasks that non-white members, but mostly Indian and a few African members that were allocated to do these tasks. So with regards to Yunus Muhammad, I could have, Yunus Sheikh, yes, I could have, like, you know, taken him out from his cells, handed him over to the people who want to question him, stuff like that. That is possible.
Do you know it was a doctor present during his interrogation?
Well, I told Yunus, because Yunus had asked me well after his release, because I had met him.
Yes.
And I told him that, yes, there was a doctor present.
During his interrogation?
During his interrogation.
And how did you know this?
Because the person who was guarding his office, the interrogation room outside the door, because the door was shut, the person who was standing there was Sergeant Archery. Sergeant Archery, okay? So he told me about that. I can't remember exactly when, but he did tell me about that.
And did the doctor take part in this interrogation?
From what I understand, yes.
I see. And whilst you were on the duties that you had, the escorting, etc., other duties included information gathering, observation of. So in other words, before the interrogation could take place, obviously we had to have information on the suspect.
Well, the investigating officer for that suspect, obviously he has to do his investigations and have sufficient information on the suspect to do a questioning, an interrogation.
And in instances, you were part of that intelligence gathering?
Well, my lord, over 13 years being in the branch, I have gathered lots of information and intelligence.
That led to interrogations?
Yeah, I suppose to some extent, yes. The rest of it being put down in writing in an investigation diary form and filed into the suspect file or the organization's file.
So you can't disagree with me then when I say that you all worked as a team. In other words, information or intelligence gathering, which then thereafter led to interrogations and to determine what information could be obtained from the suspect himself.
It's possible.
Yeah, it wasn't simply an interrogation happening obscurely. It had to follow that information is obtained through your team, let's just put it in loose terms, and that was handed over, and therefore an interrogation can take place.
Okay.
Okay. Now, in 1977, you were stationed at the security branch at Hoosen House.
Yes.
Okay. And you received information regarding Dr. Hoosen Haffejee.
Yes.
Right. Can you tell me how that came about?
Well, my Lord, Captain P.L. Detroit had sent a message to Major Ben. Well, we call him Major Ben now. At that time, he was Warrant Officer Munsami, and his name changed quite a few times. But nevertheless, we'll just refer to him as Major Ben now to keep our story together. So that he wants to see Sergeant Governor, myself, and himself, Major Ben. So three of us went over. I'm not too certain if he called V.R. Naidu over as well. But, okay, but it's in my statement. Yeah. So we went over to him, and then he had told us that he received a phone call. He had spoken to an Indian lady, a nurse named Madhi Govender, and that she has some information on a doctor's activity, and that we need to go and pick up. She'll be waiting at a Delhi restaurant. Now, Delhi restaurant was situated at the corner of Grey Street and Pine Street those days. Delhi restaurant, and that she'll be on the first level landing, where there's a telephone booth there, and that she'll be waiting in the telephone booth.
Mm-hmm. And how did Detroit get this information?
Well, apparently she had phoned through to the security branch officers, and the switchboard put the call through to Captain P.L. Detroit, from what I understand.
Right, but as you had said earlier, it is not likely that many people would have this telephone number.
Yes, yeah.
So that was unusual in itself.
Well, yeah, but the officers were known to the general public by then, because the behavior of the security branch was out in the public, and the officers were known to the public, because of detainees being taken to the branch for questioning.
Well, let's be on that point. The Mrs. Governor Benjamin now stated in her evidence that she contacted Vic McPherson, captain as well.
Now, at that time he was Warrant Officer Vic McPherson, then promoted to Lieutenant Vic.
But what was interesting was that she said that the reason she contacted him was that she had his number.
She had Vic McPherson's number.
Yes. And she went on to say that she was an informer before April of 1977. And that at one of the meetings that the security branch had with her as an informer, she was given his number, and that's how she got it.
Well, that's news to me, my lord. That's news to me.
Does that sound unusual? Or just
very unusual, because this is, my lord, this is fresh news to me.
I see.
Absolutely, because according to my knowledge, she never mentioned nothing about her phoning Vic McPherson, and that she had Vic McPherson's number. Vic, okay, all of us had our extensions, our office extension. From the switchboard you get extensions, so each one of us had extensions, right? So maybe that number, I don't know what, because there were no cell phones those days.
Yes.
So maybe that extension of his, I don't know, and how she got that, Lord knows. But I can tell you that this is fresh news for me, sir.
Okay. And would you then say that she is not, or she is incorrect, that she was an informer prior to April of 1977?
My lord, she knows best. I know that for that moment in time, I know her to be a brand new source of information, never been seen by me before.
So therefore you cannot dispute that she was an informer prior to April?
She could have been. She could have been, but not to my knowledge, sir.
And you were saying that from that point you then met at the offices of Lieutenant Munsamy?
No, we met at the offices of Captain Pierre Detroit,
Right.
where he had informed us that we need to go over to Delhi restaurant and pick up Madhib, bring him back, and then start investigations.
And what was the information that you received at that point about the doctor?
That he's involved in the giving out of lectures on the manufacturing of chemical bombs.
Okay. Did you then proceed to the Delhi restaurant?
Yes.
And can you tell us how many people went?
What I can recall, okay, so there was Major Ben, Warden Officer Mudley, Warden Officer Perumal, Sergeant Governor, myself. V.R. Naidu? Yes.
Okay. And there were 6 of you.
From what I can count.
Okay. How many vehicles did you take?
Oh, a few vehicles. A few. I can't remember exactly who drove which vehicle, but there were a few vehicles.
What was the purpose of taking more than one vehicle?
The purpose of the vehicles were to conduct a counter surveillance program, because there could be, how can I put it, there's a right word for it, there could be a, not a booby trap, there could be a setup. She could have
Set you up.
She could have set this up. There could be an ambush. That's what I was getting to. There's a possibility that there could be an ambush, so be careful, because we don't know who this person is, really speaking, in terms of background, in-depth, etc. It's somebody brand spanking new, and nobody just phones the security branch and give out information like this. It is unheard of.
Unheard of.
It's unheard of.
Okay. Yes.
Right? So when something like this comes to your ears, you've got to take all necessary precautions and just be careful.
Right. So you took a number of vehicles. You proceeded to the Delhi restaurant.
Yes.
To pick up the informer. What happened when you arrived there?
Well, when I arrived there, I think Major Ben stood outside, and the rest of us went into onto the first landing, and then Shrewd spoke to Mati Gowanda. She was in that telephone booth, so that she stepped out, and the other members just mingled around, because that's the first level. It's like an eating area. You can sit down, there's tables and chairs and stuff, etc., etc.
Yes.
So, and then she came out from there, and then Shrewd confirmed her identity. She confirmed her identity. She said she is so and so, etc., and that you had contacted the security branch. You can, yes, I had phoned the security branch, and then could you please follow me? And then she followed us into the vehicle.
And according to your statement, you say that she was an extremely attractive, well-spoken woman.
Very much so, at that point in time.
Okay. So then you got her into the vehicle. Which vehicle did she get into? Who was with her?
Well, I know that I was seated with her in the back seat of a vehicle, and Sergeant Governor, Shrewd, he was the driver of the vehicle.
Right.
And then we took a, yes.
And what did you do en route?
And then en route we took a drive along in Durban, various streets all over Durban.
Right.
And maybe after 10-15 minutes, or even more, I guess,
Yes.
we got to the offices of the security branch. The reason being is that we had conducted a counter-surveillance program just to see if we are not being followed.
Right.
Yes.
So you arrived at the security branch. Which floor
Yes.
did you take her to?
I think Major Ben and Shrewd took her to the 4th floor. Took her to P.L. Detroit's office. Right? And then they had a chat, etc. They spoke, etc. And then thereafter, I know that Major Benjamin had spoken to her about her background, where does she come from, who is she, explain everything about your background, etc. What information do you have on Dr. Haffejee? You're saying you have information on Haffejee. What sort of information do you have
And obviously you were present during this whole questioning.
Not all the time. Not all the time. I could have gone over to my offices, etc., and then come back. It's possible. This happened so many years ago. But what I am saying is that these are the type of questions that were put to her.
Okay, because in your statement you say she told, that's it, paragraph 44, she told us she had information on her fiancé. He was a dentist and that his name was Dr. Hoosen Haffejee, that he had a flat at 17 Antelope Towers, care of Antelope Place, at Crescent Street, Overport.
Yes.
So I would assume that you were present.
Yes.
And it makes sense, the team being together, because if this is viable information that is received, it would then be your team's task to start collecting evidence or information on Dr. Haffejee.
Okay.
You agree with that?
Yes, certainly.
Okay. You go on to say that she also reported that that she was his dental assistant, and that she was fed up with him because he was involved in a relationship with another Muslim girl named Shaida.
Yes.
Right. You go on to say that Shaida was a student at the University of Durban, Westville, that she was upset that Haffejee had shown more affection to Shaida because she was Muslim, and that he had even told her that. She tried to separate from him and break up the relationship, but she loved him too much and could not leave even though he loved Shaida more.
Yes.
Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong, but what you gauge from that is then that you received extensive information from this first interview of
Yes.
this informer. Okay. Now, just from that, was Mrs. Benjamin, was she then made an informer proper, according to you? Did she receive payments from that day on?
Not immediately,
Mm-hmm.
because the first thing that is normally undertaken is when information is gleaned from a source.
Mm-hmm.
What we got to do is to investigate that information to see firstly if there's any intelligence in that information. There's a difference between information and intelligence. And we as intelligence operatives, because we trained as intelligence operative, we got to read or listen to what's been said, jot down what's been said, let the person write down everything that you have to say in his or her handwriting,
Mm-hmm.
and then we study that, and then we determine to see if there's any intelligence in there.
Okay, so let me just understand that. You listen in and you gather information in his own writing to determine whether there's intelligence from it. Is that how you said it?
No, that's yeah.
The process.
That's the process, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not too certain if you read my affidavit, it might be there, it might not be there, but I'm telling the court now that this is the process. The process. It's not that I'm lying, but that is the truth.
No, that's. So, from that point on, you now had to investigate whether her information was worthy of intelligence.
Yes.
What did you then do?
Well, after going through all what she had to say, the branch, well, that's Major Ben, Shrewd, myself, mostly three of us, right? We couldn't come to a conclusion if there's any intelligence in that information, because we had no other source of information to compare that to what she's told us. To verify that. We had no other source of information besides what she's telling us. So is she telling us the truth, or is she lying? And if she is lying, what is the motive? What's the purpose of her coming forward? All of that.
Okay.
We had to dig into it.
Just whilst we're on the topic, when she eventually became an informer, who was her handler? Was it also Shrewd's?
Sergeant S. Governor, Shamnagam Governor, yes.
Shrewd's, as you said.
Yes.
Okay. And am I also correct that if you obtain information on an Indian suspect or political activist, then the Indian part of your branch actually did the investigations? It would make sense.
Absolutely.
Because obviously observation would be dealt with most likely in an Indian area, so you would then be able to blend in.
Sure.
Okay. So then we have that situation, so you had to determine what to do with it. What did you do?
Well, what was decided was Major Ben had spoken to Captain P.L. Detroit that we had to hotwire his flat and to listen into conversations taking place in the lounge area, in the bedroom area, in the house, in the flat area, and then also to analyze that information, etc. Telephone lines, whatever, bugging, all that, the entire investigation process to take place.
And then sift out what intelligence could be.
Sorry?
And then to sift out from these conversations
To
intelligence.
sift out from the information obtained telephonically as well as from a bug. The name of the bug was referred to as a tomato, T-O-M-A-T-O, right? The tomato was placed in the center of the ceiling, and it works off a radio signal, as also it works off a very thin telecom cable, very thin, right? And I think for that purpose we had someone from security branch police headquarters in Pretoria come down. So that was put in place. I know that Vic McPherson was also involved in that. Shrewd was involved in that. I think also
Okay, so I do understand correctly then it was a collective job that you all had to do.
Yes.
Right. How did you gain, well, firstly, how did you gain access to his flat?
Well, Mati Governor had keys to Dr. Haffejee's flat.
Right, we'll get to that. When did you decide that we were going to do this to his flat? The same day that she had visited you?
No, not. Observation and surveillance commenced on his flat.
The same day? The next day?
No, we are probably the next day or so. Probably. I'm not too certain exact, but probably. Most probably.
Why I ask is because if 1976 was such an uproar, as you use the words, then surely you hear about chemical bombs, you're going to act extremely fast on it.
No, sure.
So you then obtained keys to the doctor's flat from Mrs. Govender?
Well, I did not obtain it. It was obtained by Shrewd, I think Shrewd and Major Ben. Yeah.
Surely you as a group would have asked her.
Yeah, but now thing is this, that she never gave me no keys.
No, not you, but you would have known that Shrewds has to ask her to get the keys.
Yeah,
or to hand over the keys. Right?
I can't recall whether I had asked Shrewd or not, but what I can say is that Shrewd had access to the flat, Major Ben had access to the flat, Vic McPherson had access to the flat, Jimmy Taylor had access to the flat, P.L. Detroit had access to the flat.
But all from one key that was obtained
all from one key, yes.
Right.
Maybe the office made further copies, I'm not too certain.
Further copies. So in other words, once you got the key, you had to make copies of it, or a copy of it.
Yeah.
And with that, you were then able to enter his home within the next day.
I guess so. Within a day or two, probably.
And
remember, at that point in time, I was just like, 77, 70, I was like 2 years in the branch, so I was a very junior constable.
What time was it decided to go into his flat?
No idea.
Day, night?
I guess they probably would have gone in during the day. Because he's gone to work during the day.
And you knew where he had worked?
And we know where he had worked. And they would have done whatever they needed to do within his flat.
And that was to, as you say, bug the flat?
Yes.
Put in the tomato, the listening device, in order to hear what was going on during this time.
In other words, the live conversation.
Right. Also with that, had Mrs. Govender not told you that he was lecturing individuals on making bombs?
Yes.
And that would have necessitated then obviously the listening device?
Yes.
Right. Now, did you also tap as such his phone?
I believe so.
And who did that?
I think the application must have been done by Major Detroit or Captain Detroit at that point in time.
And that would have been 3 minutes done?
I believe it's, or maybe 2 minutes.
Did you also put a bug sorts on his phone at work? Because obviously, if you're going to
No, his
get information, you
his
want to know
office
also
line
at work.
was tapped as well.
Yes.
Through the switchboard, into his extension.
All right. And who was tasked thereafter with listening to the conversations? Well, let me cut it short. You were, weren't you?
Yes. No, I listened to the conversation that took place in the flat.
The conversations in the flat.
The live conversations that took place in the flat. I listened to that, and there was between Jimmy Taylor and myself, if I'm not mistaken. I speak under correction.
Yeah.
With the telephonic conversations.
As I
Right, so-
understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, it is in the statement, that you were tasked with listening to the conversations. You would then have to transcribe these and by the next morning submit them to the officer in charge. Let's just say officer in charge.
Well, I think today's work must be finished off today and then handed in.
Exactly.
Not tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Yes.
So, tell me then the process. You started listening in.
Yes.
You were aware that on Thursdays is when the most important day of that week would be.
Yes.
You also knew that Dr. Haffejee would go back to Pietermaritzburg every Friday to visit family and return either on Sunday night or Monday morning.
Yes.
Okay, so that would give you the period of the weekend to do whatever searching of his flat that you had to do with time to spare.
Well, weekdays and weekends, I guess.
Okay, so let's just take a step back. So you start the listening devices. What happens? What do you hear?
Well, I picked up various conversations because remember that this is like over a period of time.
Yes.
Right.
When did you start? Let's start there.
I think this was sometime in April. Okay, observation surveillance was one thing. April, yeah, somewhere on the April.
Okay. With a special interest on Thursday nights.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay. So now, tell us what you heard.
Okay, so what I had heard was Dr. Haffejee was giving out lectures on the manufacturing of chemical bombs.
Okay.
There would be two Muslim gentlemen driving down from Port Shepstone every Thursday evening.
Okay.
I'd say between 8 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Let's just clarify that. How would you know that it's two Muslim males coming from Port Shepstone every evening at that time?
Yeah, because we identified he had greeted the two gentlemen, in the Islamic way of greeting. Assalamu
That's how you
alaikum,
do
assalamu
Muslim,
alaikum.
right?
So I assume that they Muslim.
This is what you heard,
That's what I heard.
right? And how did you know they were coming from Port Shepstone?
Because of the registration of the vehicle, NPS.
Okay. And to proceed from there. So you were listening into these conversations.
Yes.
And it was over a 4-month period before his arrest?
April, May, June, July. Yeah, there were lots of conversations. I cannot recall everything because it's been a very long time.
As per your statement, you say you were commended back. Okay, I'm going to just take you a little back. You were commended about your observations at the Westville graduation ceremony because you had such a good memory.
Yes.
Like when you first started. Do you remember that? I'm just trying to put that into perspective
Yes.
for you. Okay. So you now are listening to these men.
Yes.
You will agree with me that to learn about making a bomb surely could take more than just one lecture of 2 hours.
It's not making a bomb. It's
Lectures.
giving out lectures on the manufacturing
And there would be questions and
of
answers.
chemical bombs.
During-
Okay, for example, it would be don't mix too much of this compound because remember it's like elements of the periodic table.
Okay.
Elements of the periodic table. Don't use too much of this and don't mix too little of this. It might just create an explosion.
Okay. And these two gentlemen came every Thursday for the 4 months.
I wouldn't say for the 4 months. I wouldn't say that because there were times when I did not listen to those to those conversations when I was put into the observation team, surveillance and observation team. So Jimmy Taylor would take over. So for me to say that, yes, for the entire 4 months, I can't say that for certainty, because obviously I wasn't there for the entire 4 months. There were breaks in between.
So then let's do it this way. Then in terms of the observation, which was the visual, I'm assuming, that you were at his flat looking who entered or checking on who entered, who exited, yes?
Yes.
For the 4 months, you saw this vehicle come in and out every week on a Thursday.
I know that Thursday night was the night to watch out for.
Right.
Whether they were there every Thursday, that would be because, remember, I'm not over there on every Thursday. There are certain Thursdays that I'm out. Jimmy Taylor takes over with the recordings. I'm in on a Thursday. I'm in on certain other weekdays, etc. Over a period of 4 months. So like April, May, June, July. Over the period. So it's like intermittent. It's not like straight 4 months.
And by this time, 1977, you were well aware and au fait with the political activists and their methods.
General political activity.
Yeah. So in other words, the ANC's, their goings on,
Well,
how they operated.
Yeah, well, there were organizations.
Right. So you will agree then that you would have known by then that there's a cell. That these did not operate in a vacuum. These activists operated within a cell.
I came to learn about the cell structure, etc. Yes.
And by 1977, surely you would have known.
Yes, I did know.
Okay. And it was therefore imperative that you not only get the person that you're observing, but any other persons that he interacts with. Just requires a yes or no.
Could you just say that again? Sorry.
So therefore, any person that he interacts with on a level of political activity, you need to know who these people were as well.
Yeah, sure.
Because obviously the cells operated on approximately 5 to 6 people. It was a close-knit number, generally. You agree?
I think about 4 people.
There we go.
Really.
Okay. So, you're listening to these conversations, then you do your visual observations, you see the vehicle. What happened to these 2 guys?
Well, at one point in time, Warrant Officer Perumal and Warrant Officer Mudley, they were told to follow that beetle, the VW beetle, the yellow VW beetle. They were told to follow that beetle and to see how far they go and where they go to, etc. Although being an NPS vehicle, we know that they're coming from Port Shepstone because we picked that up on the intelligence we're gathering. But it doesn't mean to say that they're going to go back to Port Shepstone. They could be going off anywhere else. We need to know where they're staying.
Yes.
But they were very fast in driving, from what I understand. They were extremely fast and they got away. And Perumal and Mudley lost them. Yeah.
Okay. You knew it was an NPS registration, obviously, yes, with numbers. Did anyone bother to check who the vehicle was registered to?
I can't recall, because I know I can't even recall the number of the plate, but I do know that the registration numbers were taken down and handed into Jimmy Taylor.
But as your team, that you mentioned, you are investigating this Indian individual. Surely that would have been a lead that must be followed. Because if they operate in cells, and if they are talking about bombs, and 1976 occurred, then surely that is a piece of information that you cannot let go by.
I will not bypass that from what you are saying, my lord,
yes,
but what I am saying is that information was taken down and handed over to Captain Jimmy Taylor.
Well, these 2 individuals...
So remember, you got people like Shrewd, you got people like myself, you've got Viad Naidu, you've got Major Ben, you've got Perumal, you've got Mudley, right? So anybody over here could have taken down. There was lots of times when the vehicle had come over. So at which point in time was the number taken down and handed over, I cannot say, sir.
Well, it couldn't have been after they got away. It had to have been before. The question is,
yeah, but
why
now
didn't anyone follow
they
up
got
before
away.
then?
They got away. There was a moment in time when they were followed. and that's when they got away. It doesn't mean to say that they did not come back. They did come back at the following week or the following week.
So the question still remains, why didn't we get any information on who the vehicle was registered to so that we could follow investigations in that line? Cells, members talking about bombs, makes sense.
No, I agree. I agree with...
Do you have an explanation?
Mr. McDonald, I agree with you wholeheartedly. But what I am saying is that that information concerning the registration number was handed over to Captain Jimmy Taylor. That's all I know.
How do you know that?
Major Benjamin did inform me.
I see. All right. Were these two individuals ever arrested?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay. So the two potential bombers got away according to how the security branch would have looked at it.
I guess so, if you put it that way.
However, you in your statement also say that after the vehicle left and didn't come back, the two individuals you heard, two individuals, males, again at the flat the very next week or sometime after that, again discussing bombs.
That's why I'm saying that, do they live in Maritzburg or where are they staying? Because I know at one point in time, even after them having left, I heard other voices. Mm-hmm. I heard. So maybe that was like going around the corner, going into some blocks, etc., parking off elsewhere and creeping back into the flat. I don't know.
So the same guys, gentlemen.
No, I wouldn't say the same guys.
But you can't dispute it.
Sorry?
Can you dispute that it was the same individual?
No, I can't dispute it, but neither can I say it was the same two people.
Okay.
It could be any other two people.
But for all intents
it could be the same people.
We didn't follow up. That's what you say.
No, I did not say that we didn't follow up. I did not say that, my lord. What I am saying is that as far as the identification of the vehicle is concerned, Major Benjamin had confirmed with me that the information was handed over to Captain Jimmy Taylor. That's point one. As far as the same two people coming back to the flat, yes, that's a possibility. Any other two people, that's a possibility. But I did hear voices in the flat, people talking after the first two left.
Okay. From that, the observation, the visual observation, continued with you and Schroet and Benjamin.
Peramal, Mudley,
and all through this time, you were also receiving regular updates from Miss Governor, or Mardi Governor. Is that correct?
Yeah, she was giving updates to Schroet because he was the handler.
He was the handler, yes.
And of course to Major Ben.
Right. And so you knew exactly what was going on, in other words, in the life of Dr. Hoosen Haffejee.
Yes.
Did you at any point try to convince Mardi Governor to try to become part of his cell, to infiltrate his inner groups? I
know at one point in time she told me that she was not allowed to enter his flat on a Thursday to become part of a group or whatever. She wasn't allowed to enter the flat on a Thursday.
No, the question wasn't that. The question was, did you or the security branch make a decision that, Mardi Governor, please will you try to infiltrate the inner core of this group so that you can get more information from it?
Probably Shrewd Governor, the handler, or Major Ben being the co-handler, could have discussed that with her.
But you agree that would make sense to do?
Does make sense.
Yeah, okay. So you continue to gather this information over the 4-month period.
Yes.
You put it into your files and you started building a dossier of sorts on Dr. Haffejee. Then he was arrested.
Yes.
On the 2nd of August, 1977. Yes. Okay. What turn? After 4 months, why did we decide to arrest him at that time? The 2nd of August, a Tuesday.
It was Captain P.L. de Toit who had called for us and told us that, look, you know what? We've heard enough, we've read enough, and we need to pick up Dr. Haffejee. We need to arrest him.
On what grounds? What were you going to arrest him for?
Well, basically on the investigation that was pursued and the information that was gleaned. He had sufficient cause, he says he had sufficient information then that he must be arrested.
For interrogation?
For questioning, interrogation, absolutely.
But at that point you had no evidence against him in terms of being able to put him into a court and face
I wouldn't
a trial?
say I wouldn't say that we did not have any evidence. What we had gleaned via the tomato and what the officer had gleaned via the telephone, the PL Detroit said that he had sufficient ground to have him arrested.
Yes, but there wasn't sufficient grounds to place him before a court to actually have a trial where there was a good possibility of a conviction, because that would
At
also
that
be a
point
goal.
in time, I can't say, my lord. I can't say.
I see.
I can't say.
And of course, with interrogations and considering the fact that a cell existed, you'd want to find out who these other members are as quickly as possible.
Sure.
Because their reasoning was that they would try to remain tight-lipped until their associates were able to escape and or flee based on their arrest.
Yes.
You understand? So all we had was then that he was arrested because we had enough information to question him, to interrogate him. What was the purpose of the interrogation? What was the goal? What were you trying to achieve from the interrogation?
Okay, the purpose of the interrogation was firstly to find out exactly who these other two members were,
Yes.
the ones from Potchefstroom, to find out more about his training that he had received in India,
Right.
apparently in India, and also his other associates in and around Durban concerning his friend circle,
Yes.
as well as all the lectures that he had given on the manufacturing of, or given lectures on the manufacturing of chemical bombs.
And you will agree with me that you had a very limited amount of time. Considering this, you arrested him in broad daylight, number one. He was employed and therefore would have to go to work, and he would be noticed if he wasn't at work. So we had a very limited amount of time to gather this immense amount of information. Where you gained your training, how did you learn about to make bombs, who the members of your cell was. Makes sense.
Well, look, limited amount of time. You know, when it comes to the security branch, there is no time.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such a thing as a limited amount of time.
I see.
There is a thing where you can apply to the law courts to extend your 48 hour for an extended period of time. But in those days, my lord, the security branch had, like, how can I put it? They were like the bosses above the bosses. They would extend that investigation for an indefinite period.
Mm-hmm.
They had laws in place. They like Section 10 of the Internal Security Act, preventative detention.
Mm-hmm.
3 months, 4 months detention without trial. The Section 6 of the Terrorism Act, etc., etc. So it's not a case where there was a limited amount of time. The police, the security police, had time on their side.
Okay, I understand. But will you not agree with me then that you also had to strike while the iron was hot? Here is this individual who's lecturing on bombs, who has a cell, who you've been observing for 4 months, and you need to get this information from him as quick as possible. Keeping him in custody without any information means that it is all lost. Yes, we could keep him there for the 180 days, etc., but you will agree that everything would be lost after that first 24 hours.
I would agree that within the first 24 hours, remember that the ANC's high command, based in London, Lusaka, Zambia, etc., Sizu, etc., the instructions came down from the high command that within the first 24 hours, you do not give out any information.
Right.
Nothing at all.
Okay.
And there's a reason behind that. It's twofold.
Explain.
One is where your mere arrest by the security police, that would have hit the news media, be it printed or electronic, throughout South Africa. That's one. That will give all your comrades who were involved with you sufficient time to escape, to get out of the country. That's one. That was an instruction, explicit instruction from the African National Congress High Command. That's one. And then the other reason is that between 24 to 48 hours, you may start talking. It's not that you must start talking, or if you decide to talk, you can talk. You may start talking. Mm-hmm. But in that process, you need to drag. Talk slowly, give them bits and tidbits. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, Captain P.L. Detroit, in charge of the investigation, and Jimmy Taylor as well, they know about this. Mm-hmm. And they know the importance of the first 24 hours.
Well, the whole security branch would know about this.
No, I would not say the whole security branch. No, sorry, please. Sorry. Please don't put words into my mouth. I'm here to speak the truth. The investigators and those people who took a special interest in interrogation, especially into investigating the African National Congress and other banned organizations, those people ought to have known, they should have known, that this is the instruction issued by the African National Congress.
I'm sorry, the reason I said it was you gave such a definite answer about the fact that that was the rule. 24 hours, we have to keep quiet. Within 48 hours, if you say anything, that's okay and acceptable. That's how I understood you. Between
24 to 48 hours, you may talk.
Okay.
It's not to say that you must talk, you may talk. Okay. But if you do talk, you need to drag down slowly. Don't give out everything.
So,
not fast.
Would I be correct then in understanding that the first 24 hours for the security branch would be its most important, therefore its most intense in terms of getting this information?
Thank you.
Right. Secondly, you said that the High Command was in the United Kingdom at that time, London. In London.
Yeah,
right?
President Thabo Mbeki and President Cyril Ramaphosa were in London at that point in time, and then of course the directors also flowed from Mac Maraj, who was in Lusaka, in Zambia.
You said also that they should be giving tidbits to drag.
Yes.
In your statement and the evidence that you must confirm is Dr. Haffejee gave nothing. At the time that he was there, he gave nothing. He just continuously spoke about his family, as you put it, and his background.
Yes.
So he didn't give them any tidbits as such.
No, therefore, I say that he never came out with anything that's of a value.
Yes. So in that 24 hours, they had to find out, the security branch had to find out who the other cell members were at the very least.
Sure, that's part of the
they
interrogation.
They were going to escape within, 24 hours. Okay. So you then have him arrested. Where was he arrested?
In Asheville.
Yes.
Overport, Asheville, Overport, yes.
Just to clarify for the court, obviously prior to his arrest and with all these incidents going on, it would have to be discussed as to what we were going to do. It says so in your statement.
Yes.
Right. So how did you go about doing that?
Well,
how was it planned?
Well, Captain Detroit called us, as what I said earlier, and said that he needs to be arrested. We need to get our cars all lined up. And then as he leaves his flat, we got to follow his vehicle and come to a specific point where we feel it's safe for him to be arrested. He will be arrested.
Okay.
So, okay.
You're okay. All right. Just correct me if I'm wrong. What it's actually, what I hear you saying is that the number of vehicles would be employed so as to block off any escape routes.
Yes.
Right, that makes sense. Then in terms of us getting him off the road, we'd have to choose a specific spot. It couldn't just be willy-nilly anywhere on his trip from home to work. Wouldn't make sense. So we'd have to choose a space that was conducive for us to stop him. Yes?
I cannot recall
but
that.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
But hang on, my lord. I cannot recall that being discussed. But what I do know is what took place.
Okay.
And I can tell the court about that.
Yes. And then in detail, what vehicle drove in front of him?
Captain DeToy was the first vehicle in front.
Who was he with?
Captain DeToy was with Jimmy Taylor.
You sure? Or you?
Captain DeToy. Yeah, Captain DeToy. Yeah, there was a Ford 3-liter Granada, a powder blue Granada. That was Captain DeToy's vehicle, right? Behind him was myself and Shrewd.
Yes.
Shrewd was a driver, I was a passenger. And then behind me was V.R. Naidu / Vic McPherson. And when that vehicle had overtaken, so remember, Major DeToy's in front.
Yes. In front of Dr. Haffejee?
In front of Dr. Haffejee.
Correct, yes.
Dr. Haffejee is at the back.
Yes.
I'm behind Dr. Haffejee.
Yes.
And behind me is V.R. Naidu / McPherson. Right? That's what
V.R. Naidu and McPherson.
That's what Shrewd had observed in his rear view.
Right.
Okay?
Sure.
So when the vehicles were like on Stanley Clockley Drive, yeah, going up, where the Asheville swimming baths is, where there is a grassy patch, a very big grassy patch, right?
Yes.
The vehicle from behind me overtook and went very close to Dr. Haffejee's white Alfa Sud.
Yes.
And Dr. Haffejee tried to avoid the vehicle because the vehicle was going to crash into him. So he tried to avoid that and slowly pushed him onto the grassy verge. That's when that vehicle had overtaken me, then I noticed Major Benjamin in the back seat. Because remember, in the front was McPherson / V.R. Naidu.
Okay, yes.
Then I noticed Major Ben in the back seat when the vehicle overtook me, and I looked.
Yes.
Right? So the vehicle was pushed off, and everybody alighted from the vehicles. Jimmy Taylor was the first one who opened the driver's door and sort of pulled him out.
Just before we go that far, the area that was chosen was obviously a spot where he would not, being Dr. Haffejee, able to escape in his vehicle. You'd have to put him off the road at a space where he couldn't escape.
Well, that didn't occur to me.
Okay. All right. So you said then all of you alighted from your vehicles and you approached Dr. Haffejee's driver's side door. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
What happened?
Then Jimmy Taylor had opened the driver's door and virtually grabbed him and pulled him out, and I can still picture Dr. Haffejee sitting over there, and he's shocked. His eyes are gone big. He had his glasses on, but his eyes are gone big, and he looked like, he's shocked. Who would not be?
Just glasses being spectacles or sunglasses?
I can't remember, but they were quite big.
Big spectacles.
Yeah,
All
they were quite big.
Yes, proceed.
Yeah, and then he was pulled out. Detroit pulled out his appointment certificate and produced it and told him that he's from the security branch. Jimmy Taylor, as usual, he would say that he's from the special branch. I think at one point in time, Major Ben also searched his vehicle. And then he was taken away into the blue Ford Granada 3-liter with himself and Major Ben in the back seat. He was handcuffed. And this is why in my affidavit I told Advocate Shabnam Singh that he was not arrested, he was kidnapped. And that is the honest truth. He was kidnapped. Because the manner in which you arrest those days, there's a procedure that you have to follow. You got to touch the person on his right shoulder, which means you're taking him into your custody. You got to inform him of the charge against him or her. You got to inform them of you got to warn them in terms of judges' rules, etc. But none of that happened.
I see. And the security branch, who were an elite force, were also following that procedures?
What, to
do all
to
of
conduct
that you
a
said?
formal arrest?
Yes.
Unheard of.
Right. Okay. So, according to your statement, you say that Dr. Haffejee offered no resistance.
Nothing at all.
So he was grabbed out of the vehicle. He was then handcuffed. Cuffs at the front of him? Or
No, at the back of him.
And then he was placed into another vehicle by Taylor again?
I'm not too certain. Was it Taylor? Could have been, most possibly.
But this was after he was searched by Lieutenant, or by Munsami
Yeah.
and Governor,
Yes.
his person.
And also his vehicle.
The Taylor searched his vehicle?
Well, I guess so, because at one point in time Taylor drove his vehicle.
Okay. So once you left that scene, is that what you're saying? That it was Taylor who drove the Alpha Sun?
Yes.
Okay, I see. Now, was there a scuffle at all between Dr. Haffejee and any of the members of the security branch at that point?
No, nothing at all.
Now, you would be aware that there was an inquest,
Yes.
the first one,
Yes.
and that Dutoy and Taylor testified,
Yes.
and they both, in their testimonies, had indicated that a scuffle took place at the arrest. Are they lying?
To me, that's a lie.
Thank you.
To me, that's a lie.
So, Dr. Haffejee was not injured in any way at that point during that process that you were present at?
No, not.
Thank you. You then proceeded in the vehicles. Where to?
Well, I was expecting the vehicles to go to the office, which is Hoosen House, but then I see that they're taking another route. So then, shoot, look, what's going on here? And then he radioed.
Okay.
And Major Ben said that the place of questioning will be Brighton Beach.
All right. Now, just on that point, just to clarify, according to your statement, and correct me if it's wrong, you say that that arrest, all this occurred between 7:47 and 8 o'clock in paragraph 52. Sorry,
Okay.
Your statement. Is that
Okay,
correct?
yes.
Then from there you proceeded to, well, the police station at Brighton Beach. That's what you said. Eventually you proceeded there, right?
Yes.
At what point did you figure out that they were going in the wrong direction?
When the vehicle was somewhere along Southern Freeway. Because remember now, Hoosen House,
Understand?
Hoosen House is off Point Road.
Yes.
Hoosen House is in Fisher Street. It's in the corner of Fisher Street and Robin Lane.
Right.
And Fisher Street is off Point Road. Okay? So from Overport to get into Fisher Street, the shortest route would be get onto the ridge, over the ridge, and come straight down and get into Point Road,
Right.
and then turn right into Fisher Street.
So
That would be about the shortest route. But for the vehicle, when I saw the Granada 3-liter driving along towards the Southern Freeway, then that's when Shrood had radioed in. And that's when we learned that Brighton Beach is our destination.
okay. So is there any reason why the plan was changed? Because as you said, you would have expected to go to Hoosen House. That's where all
Yes.
the interrogations take
Yes.
place.
Yes.
So why did the plan change?
No idea.
Didn't you
I mean,
ask after that?
No, not at all. Captain Detroit, and Jimmy Taylor, they're in charge of the investigation. They're the bosses. Although Major Ben was to a certain extent in charge as well, but they decide.
All right, and then you
So,
follow along as
I
the team.
followed along, yes.
Right, okay. So you then proceeded to Brighton Beach Police Station.
Yes.
Okay. Taylor, yourself, all the members that you had mentioned earlier. What time did you arrive at Brighton Beach Police
I think
Station?
about 9 or thereabouts.
9 o'clock.
Yeah, or just before that, or thereabouts, somewhere around there. Yeah,
Okay.
9.
Trying to
quarter past.
reconcile times here. You will agree, Asheville to Brighton Beach Police Station shouldn't take an hour. If the incident had been or had occurred between 7:47 and 8 o'clock, and you arrived there an hour later.
Yeah, but then, bear in mind also that's early morning, it's peak period, it's heavy traffic.
Well, let's analyze that then.
Yeah, but then, my lord, this happened like 44 years ago. I mean, seriously, I know we were there like around about 9, somewhere around there.
An hour later.
Yeah, plus minus.
All right. Didn't go anywhere else before that.
No, not.
The convoy drove straight to
Brighton Beach.
Brighton Beach. Okay. And you arrived at Brighton Beach. What happened at the station?
Then we parked off our vehicles
Where?
downstairs, where the parking bay is opposite the cells.
Where you had pointed out to
Where
the
we had
court
parked our
during the
vehicles,
inspection
yeah,
in
the
local.
inspection local, yes.
Right. And these were all the vehicles driven in the convoy.
Yes.
Parked at the same spot.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
And then we alighted, and as what I had pointed out, because right now, as what we had seen and agreed upon, that there's lots of changes taking place in 77 to 2021 at Brighton Beach. But I know that there was a long passage, and that we went to the last office at the end of the building. And that's where this big sort of a warehouse area was, empty office. And just nearby as you enter or as you come out on the right hand side is the toilet. If you enter, it will be on the left hand side.
Okay. So let's just take those two and exclude the passage for now, just in terms of rooms. So you will agree that one of the first rooms that you showed the court on the inspection in loco was the one that was immediately outside the galvanized staircase and immediately across from cell 2.
No, that was not the office where
That's
he was
what I asked you.
questioned. Yeah.
Do you remember showing it?
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
court?
yeah, sure.
I want you to confirm a few things.
Yeah, yeah.
You will agree that that was a room that was large?
Yes.
Right. You will agree that we saw that the room on the outside was in fact previously a toilet.
I don't know, was it?
Well, that's what you confirmed, and the members that were there, and you were able to visually see the remnants of toilets.
Yeah, but now I couldn't confirm that as being the office where he was questioned, where he was interrogated. But what I am saying, and the reason why I'm saying this, my lord, is that I know that it was right at the end of the passageway, and the second office that we found is at the end of the building. There's nothing else beyond that building.
We'll
Right,
get to the
so
second office. I just want you to confirm a few
Yeah.
things. So as we said, it's a large office. There are pillars in this large office.
okay, I can't remember what we saw in the inspection
there are pillars,
local.
you can't dispute it because they are.
Yeah.
Then you agree also that there's a little room on the outside, on the left-hand side if you're entering, on the right-hand side if you're exiting that room, and there was possibly a toilet in that room.
If that's what you say.
Do you recall that that room, that being the storage room which it is now called, has no windows?
I don't know. I can't recall.
Well, it stands to reason that it is not at the back or the road-facing side, but it is on the side that is facing the
I
sea.
can't even recall that the original room had windows in it. Seriously, I can't even recall that.
Well, the plans from 1965 indicate that there were windows in the plans at that point.
Yeah, but not the office. I don't think the office where Haffejee was questioned.
Okay, so
I can't.
Yes, let's explore that because that storage room is the only one that doesn't have any windows.
Okay.
Okay, there's a toilet outside. It is sea facing, in other words, it's closer to the sea as opposed to the second room that you went to. You agree? Right. It is also closest to the charge office. One would just be able to walk up the galvanized staircase on the outside and you'd be very close to the charge office.
Yeah, but I remember.
Wait, just confirm it.
Sorry?
Don't tell me what you remember. When you went for the inspection in local, you will agree galvanized staircase leads directly
From the
to
outside
charge,
into the charge office.
into the charge.
Yes.
So in other words, you'd come out of the storeroom, as it was now known. You'd walk up the stairs. and you'd be at the charge office.
Yes.
You agree that all your vehicles were parked right outside that office. Just confirm it. You just
Outside the galvanized stairway.
at that
Yes.
area. Right. Directly across from that galvanized staircase and that storeroom is cell 2, where
Yes.
Dr. Haffejee died.
Okay.
Okay. So this would be logically an ideal place to have an interrogation.
I can't, my Lord, I cannot surmise and say that this would be an ideal place. I know, because I was there, I know that we went right to the end of the building.
Right.
And I know that the office that I saw, and even when I came out, I told Mr. Vani, now that looks more like it.
Now, how do you remember that?
Because for one, it's the size of the office is one, and
Yes.
secondly, as you enter,
Yes.
obviously on the left-hand side is a toilet, and when you're coming out, on the right-hand side is a toilet.
Yeah.
So that, the size of the office was one.
Now, you will
And
agree
that is at the end of the building, and there's nothing behind that wall besides nothing.
besides
There's nothing behind there's no extension of the police building
Beyond.
after that.
Okay. So you agree, you visited both the rooms, they are the similar size.
No,
The one
not.
the one
Not. The one at the end is much bigger.
Okay. You will agree that the one at the end, as you said, faces the road.
I don't know. Really,
So we were standing outside the building, the road is just above it. It is the offices, that office or that room that you're talking about now, the second room, that faces the road.
if you say so, fine.
Right. It has windows.
No idea.
Yes, it does. You
I
went
didn't
in and
notice.
had a look.
No, I didn't notice. Sorry.
Okay, so it does have windows. It faces the public road.
Okay.
We've heard the testimony of Mr. Mayer, who testified that he was at the charge office on that evening. What he does confirm, and we'll get to his testimony later, but what's important right now, he confirms that there were residents or houses across the road. Many houses, in fact, he said.
I never took notice of that.
Okay, so let's just put this in, let me put it to you this way. Would it not make sense to use the storeroom that has no windows, is not going to be able to let out the sounds of a screaming detainee being tortured, rather than the one that is facing the public road, residential area, and a great distance from the charge office, a great distance from the cells?
My Lord, I cannot base what I'm saying
Mr.
on...
McNaught, I'm getting confused now. Are you challenging the area he believed the interrogation took place? The one that he showed to us at the southern end of that building?
Well, not necessarily a challenge, my Lord, but we have to interrogate which is the most likely that it would have occurred.
Because the first one that he showed us clearly didn't have any long passages.
Yes, Lord. I agree.
After he had seen the second one, it was clear, he said, that looked like it,
Yes, I think
because of a long passage that we all walked through from there, going to the church office.
whilst I agree with what the court is saying, Lord.
So I don't want to be confused, because it looked like, I thought that had,
be decided upon.
yes,
No,
I thought everybody had accepted it, because he has seen both areas.
Yes.
He talks about a long passage. That probably is the place, because it used to have a toilet which was no longer there, a urinal, I think.
Yes.
So I thought we were all agreed,
Well, my Lord, I think
because that's what he said.
the court had used the correct words in saying that. He said it looks like. He didn't say it was definitely the place where the interrogation took place.
He appeared convinced when he said that.
But
That
Lord,
because the other side, there was never a passage on the other side.
Well, the court will also remember that Mr. Gopal entered that premises, or that room. He went to the far end, but now he can't remember if there were windows or not. So it's a matter of merely interrogating what is more reasonable.
Well,
If it is accepted that an interrogation took place at the Brighton Beach police
well,
station.
I don't know, because he is the only one who can tell us.
Yes, I understand, Lord.
We may look at the place, and because it has windows, probably not the place. He's the only one who can tell us. He says it looks like the place where, because remember there was that drawing he made before we went to that place, and if one looks at that drawing and looks at that place, it looks like that's the place he wanted to show us.
If I may just confirm with my colleague. Thank you, Lord. Yes, I understand what the court is actually pointing out. I can move on.
Please, because
no, I understand.
To argue that it was not that one, he's the only one who, I mean, he's, as you can hear even now, he believes the one at the southern end is the one.
As the court pleases, Lord. So, you took Dr. Haffejee then from the vehicles directly to the room for interrogation?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't book him in at the charge office first? Was there a reason why not?
No idea, because P.L. DeToy is in charge of the investigation and we just follow suit.
Okay. But surely it would be considered to do so, because if he's going to be interrogated intensely, and you did say that the interrogations consisted of assaults, that we'd want to say he didn't have any assaults at that time.
He was not,
any injury, sorry.
He was not booked in.
I see. Where's the Coke vending machine at the charge office?
There was a Coke vending machine where the charge office is now.
Yes, you said.
Just, as you enter through the back, we came into the charge office. Just there with the charge office, just over there was a Coke vending machine.
So it's behind
the charge office.
Behind the charge office.
The charge office.
Where you come from the passageway.
When you enter the charge office from the outside, so you're in the charge office now, and then you can walk through. There's a long passageway.
Yes.
Just there by the corner, the charge office proper, and that passageway right there was a Coke vending machine.
Right, come back to that. Now, you took him directly to the interrogation room. What happened there?
Well, there, firstly, Captain P.L. DeToit had all the files with him on the entire investigation on Dr. Haffejee. I was given my instruction that I must give him his food, if he wants to go to the toilet, and then make sure he doesn't escape. Being a junior constable, those were my instructions. 2 years service, I guess. And I stood there by the pillar, by the door. That's it. And then Shoot Governor and Jimmy Taylor were the initial interrogators.
Okay, where were you standing, sir?
I was standing by the pillar near the door.
At the door?
Near the door.
And inside the room was Shoot's Governor, Jimmy Taylor. Who else was present in that room?
P.L. DeToit. He was behind the table, the table and chair.
Yes.
So he was behind the table with a file, and his investigation file.
Was he seated on the chair?
I can't remember. Seated, I can't remember.
And where was Benjamin?
Benjamin, at this time, he came in and he went out. He came in and he went out. So probably he was busy in his car or something. He was on his radio or something of that sort. I can't clearly remember.
Any other members that were present inside? Where was V.R. Naidu?
V.R. Naidu was... Where was he? I can't recall. I know in that room was myself, Jimmy Taylor, P.L. DeToit, Shrewd.
Okay.
That's it.
But you can't remember if Vic McPherson, V.R. Naidu...
No, Vic McPherson was not in the room. In the interrogation room.
Yes.
No Vic McPherson, no Vic McPherson, V.R. Naidu, no. Major Benjamin came in and out, yes.
All right. And you said also that it started with Governor and Taylor.
Yes.
What was this first part of
Well, there were questions. I cannot tell you the order in which the questions were asked, but it was questions concerning, okay, tell us about your background. Where did you get your training from? the lectures that you were given every Thursday evening. You had spoken to two people telephonically. You had asked them to bring the wires along. What were these wires pertaining to? What sort of lectures? What sort of chemical compounds? The mixtures? What sort of formulas? The periodic table, stuff like that. And then I remember Dr. Haffejee kept very silent. He said nothing at all. He was stripped. He was told to take off his jacket. He stripped. He was only left in his brief.
Okay, please help us to give us a chronological order. Was this done when the interview or the interrogation started, or was this done at a later stage?
The stripping?
Yes.
I think the stripping was first.
Exactly. So he was made to strip down to his underwear, not completely naked.
Yes, no, there was a later stage when his brief when he was told to take off his brief.
Okay, so at the beginning, he's there without any clothing on and standing with his underwear on only.
Socks and shoes were off.
Socks and shoes off. Now, do you recall what he was wearing?
I think he was wearing a light powder blue or greyish safari suit.
Okay. Light coloured? Okay,
yeah.
Great. Was it the two-piece?
Yes, a long trouser and a suit, yeah.
And the upper piece, was this long sleeve or a short sleeve?
I think it was a short sleeve. Yeah.
This is a short sleeve safari. Okay. Any other items that were removed from him at that time?
I can't recall.
Cigarettes, glasses, spectacles.
Yeah, maybe his glasses were taken off. Cigarettes, I don't know. I can't recall him having cigarettes. Maybe his watch. Yeah.
And his shoes and his socks, so he's also barefoot.
Yeah.
All right, and the interrogation then starts with all these questions.
Yes.
Okay. When does he first get assaulted, and by whom?
Well, Jimmy Taylor was the first one who threw the first shot. And then followed Shrewd, Governor.
Okay, that's just, so Dr. Haffejee was standing up at the time?
Yes.
Was this half an hour into the interrogation, 1 hour into the interrogation?
My lord, I can't really say, but probably about, say, 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Okay, so 15, 20 minutes, Taylor hits him. How?
My lord, there were a series of, fist blows. There was open, like palm, slaps, very hard ones. There was kicks. There was punches. There was along his kidney sides, along his back, along his front, his legs, his thighs, his armpits. You name it. Every part of his body. I don't think that any part of his body was burst, because I'm standing there and I'm looking at this thing unfold before me. And my lord, what unfolded before me? Remember, I only got 2 years service and I've never seen an interrogation like this in my life. For the first time in my life, what had unfolded before me during the course of that day, from the time it started till the time it stopped completely. Like what I said earlier, my lord. It was like a grotesque feature of a horrible nightmare that just unfolded before me. And I got a shock of my life. I just stood there. I could say nothing. Being a junior constable and being a non-white, we had no authority. And I know that had I intervened and said something or pulled Dr. Haffejee away, they would have taken me down. They would have taken me down. That's a certainty.
But Governor was at liberty to...
Yeah, well, Governor was already soaked in the security branch by then. He was there like... I don't know. I don't know when he had joined. I think 1970 maybe.
I see.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
All right. So, coming back to it now, you say that he was assaulted and questions were asked.
At the same point in time.
The objective being, who trained you, where did you train, who the cell members were?
All sorts of questions. Everything that you can think of.
And he was giving nothing up?
Absolutely nothing. There's a point in time where I told myself, that Dr. Haffejee is not lying. He is not lying. The reason being, he told us nothing. So if he told us nothing, how can he be lying? He's not lying. Lying against what? He spoke about his family life. He spoke about his work life. That's it. That's not a lie. That's the truth.
Right.
That's it. So he never lied, because he never came out with what we wanted to know.
But you knew he was lying. You say so in your statement.
Yeah, but now
you've been listening to this man for
but now,
4 months.
But now, hang on. You need to understand something.
Yes.
And listen to me very carefully, sir. Right? I've been listening to this person's conversations.
Yes.
Right? He never confirmed any of it. He never confirmed any of it, my lord. That does not mean to say that because he does not confirm anything of it, that he's lying. No. He never talked anything concerning our investigation, what we had found out.
So he was hiding information from you?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
That's
he
a
wasn't
better
lying
way.
about his family, yes, obviously, but he was holding back the information.
That's a better way
that
of
you
explaining
required.
it. Yes.
And you then, as the team, would obviously have to intensify the interrogation, the assaults on him, so that you could possibly extract this essential information.
That's what they did.
Okay. So, apart from that, you say that he was punched all over his body. He was also kicked all over his body. Was the mule kick used on him at some point during this interrogation?
I don't know if I mentioned the word mule in my affidavits.
No, I'm asking you. You remember? It's possible you forgot.
But I can't recall having mentioned the word mule in my affidavits. I mean, if it's there, it's there. But a mule kick, from what my understanding is,
Yes.
your flat foot,
Yes.
been kicked into your body
Right.
like a mule.
Okay.
Okay. For example, like a mule, if you stand in the back and the mule takes its back foot and kicks you, like a horse will kick you from the back. It's like a mule kick.
Was a ruler used to assault Dr. Haffejee?
A ruler? No.
Like you mentioned.
No, not a ruler. They were totally physical.
Okay.
Totally, completely physical.
So was any kind of weapon used at all? When I say weapon, I mean truncheon,
No.
baton, rods.
No.
Nothing of the sort. So it was just hands,
legs,
fists.
first booting, kicking, busting. I mean, my lord, Dr. Haffejee was busted. When I say busted, my lord, please believe me what I'm saying. There's no other way in which I can describe this. He was hit very hard, tremendously. And Dr. Haffejee was screaming out for his mother. Ma, Ma. And I'm standing there and I'm looking at Dr. Haffejee. And there's nothing that I can do. I mean, I had to live with this traumatic incident for 44 years, my lord. And then I had to find the safest way out was when, during the Nelson Mandela administration, 1994 to 1998, came 1997, I walked into the TRC. That was the safest time for me to expose this. Otherwise, the system would have taken me out. They would have taken me out.
Since then and before 2018, did you make a statement again to any authority? Since the TRC hearings in 1997 and your eventual statement in either 2019 this matter, did you make any other statements?
A written statement on Dr.
Well, did you go to any authority to say, this is what I saw, this is what Taylor and Shrewd's governor did to Dr. Haffejee?
Well, I mean, a lot of people had asked me, because a lot of people came to know about this.
Did you make that statement?
No, please, I want you to understand me. I want this court to truly understand me. That if you punch my name, Mohan Deva Gopal, on Google, out comes out everything concerning the Haffejee investigation and me, my involvement, etc., etc. So a lot of people had contacted me and asked me, Mo, what's going on here? Mo, what's going on there? Like, yeah, that's true. I saw what I saw. I went to the TRC and I gave my story in. I felt that was the right point in time because no security branch policeman, former or retired, was prepared to come to the TRC and expose the truth about what happened to Dr. Haffejee. And I couldn't live with this any longer. My Lord, I am in my latter part of my life right now. I'm 68 years of age. I'm reaching towards the peak of my life. And I need to get this matter settled. I've waited a very, very long time to come to this court. I am speaking the truth. I will speak the truth. And if the prosecutor and Mr. Vani want to keep me for the next 6 months, I stand by my word. That I'm serious about. But I need to get this off my chest because the family members are sitting over there. They need closure about this. There was a point in time, and I believe it was 1995, when this matter could have been sorted out. But unfortunately, it was not done.
Why not?
That Mr. Coastal Governor must answer.
Why Coastal Governor?
Because in 1995, he had joined the South African Police Services.
Yes.
And he had joined the crime intelligence division.
Yes.
And he eventually ended up becoming a superintendent. Right?
Yes.
Now, my Lord, remember that Colonel Coastwell, superintendent, now colonel, it's the same thing. Right? So now, remember that in 1977, the year in which Dr. Haffejee was assaulted, a month later, Colonel Governor
Yes.
was brutally assaulted.
Yes.
And if you look at the people who had assaulted Dr. Haffejee, Jimmy Taylor, P.L. Detroit, and Shrewd, were the same 3 people who had brutally assaulted Colonel Coastal Governor. Now, if you calculate from 1995 to 1977, it's 18 years, 18 years. From the time he was assaulted, 18 years down the line, he became a policeman. And he knew who had killed Dr. Haffejee, because in his own admissions in this court, and Mr. McDonald will confirm what I'm saying right now, that when he was being assaulted, the people who were assaulting him, they said, "Speak the truth, or we will kill you like how we killed Dr. Haffejee." And then Mr. McDonald asked him very clearly, "Who is this we?" And he said, definitely Velman, Jimmy Taylor, and P.L. Detroit. So he knew about who killed Dr. Haffejee in 1977. Come 1995, 18 years down the line, none of the crimes had been repealed, or what do you call it, had been expunged. What word is that? Prescribed. Right? He is a superintendent with crime intelligence. Now, my Lord, crime intelligence is another name for the security branch. It's the same department. Same members, same office, same furniture, same everything. But it's only known as crime intelligence. That's all. Right? So he's based at Sierra Swart Square. Right? Now, Durban Central, now known as. So now, here is a superintendent equivalent to a lieutenant colonel who's got police powers of authority. All he had to do is apply for a warrant of arrest and a search and seizure warrant if necessary, but at least a warrant of arrest. Those 3 people were still alive. They were alive in 1995, my Lord. We know when those 3 people died. The information is available to the court. Those 3 people were still alive. P.L. Detroit, Jimmy Taylor, and Shrewd, as governor.
Yes. Tell me something.
And then I want to know. Sorry.
No, just
sorry. I'm talking. Please allow me a chance to talk.
Over and over again.
No, sorry.
Let me just ask you a question, sir. When did you retire?
When did I retire?
When did you retire?
From the South African Police.
Correct.
I took an intergovernmental transfer.
Yes.
From
the security branch to the national.
From the security branch to the National Intelligence Agency. That was in 1987.
Yes.
Yeah, but sorry, I just need to finish
No, hold on. 1987. When did you retire from that? The
from National Intelligence,
Yes.
1992.
Right, so you were no longer employed.
Yes.
Okay. So why did you go to report the matter after that?
Because
Because?
remember that 1992 was the old dispensation.
Why didn't you go in 1997?
Stand by. 1997 I went to the TRC.
Why didn't you go in 1999?
I went in 1997.
Hold on. Why didn't you go in 1999 to report the matter? To say,
Report
I'd like
what
to...
matter?
Mr. Governor, why don't you please assist me to arrest these people so that I can be your witness? Why didn't you do it?
In 1995,
Yes.
when he was in a position to have those people arrested, he could have taken a witness statement from me.
Why didn't you do anything about it?
In 1997, when Colonel Coastal Governor walked in with me to the TRC, he could have told Advocate Sachi Governor, who was the head of the TRC then, that here's Mr. Mohan Gopal, he was the one who brutally assaulted me. Nothing of that sort. He never complained about me to the TRC. Otherwise, the TRC would have pulled me up there, given me a summons to appear, a superior to appear for that specific incident. Nothing at all. They never even questioned me about Coastal Governor. In the afternoon, Coastal Governor picks me up to take me home, and that's when they gave him a copy of my amnesty application and said, excuse me, just fill this in and Coastal Governor will get this commission and he'll drop it off at the office. Fine. He then took me home. He left me at home. And then on the 10th of May, 1997, he picked me up from home, took me to CR Swat Square, where I filled in the form, and then he commissioned that, stamped over there, he signed that superintendent. He said, fine, not a problem, I'll hand this in. That was his second opportunity to complain that I had assaulted him, but he never complained. What he did do was he took me upstairs to my old office in Sierra Swat Square, and I met some of my old members over there, friends, administrative personnel. I even met his boss, the new boss, African gentleman. I just forget his name. And then, of course, he took me to the cryptography room. He showed me over the inside who was there. There was an Indian lady on the computer, the African gentleman on the crypto machine. We walked out, etc. The day after, he left me at home. Then, if you look at my amnesty application, sir, you'll see over there, on the 14th of May, 1997, that amnesty application was handed into the TRC. You'll see a stamp on the top left-hand corner, received. There's his third opportunity to complain to the TRC that I had assaulted him. But he never complained. He never complained. In his affidavit to this court, his affidavit says nothing about my having assaulted him. Nothing at all. Nothing. His testimony in court is completely different, not even contained in his affidavit.
Mr. Gopal?
Yes, sir.
He has forgiven you.
Sorry?
He has forgiven you. You don't have to dwell on that.
Oh, he's forgiven me.
Yes.
Okay.
He told us here that he forgave you long ago.
Well, I never knew about that, my lord.
He didn't tell you.
He didn't tell me.
Okay.
He didn't tell me, my lord.
Okay, but let's forget about that. I think you are being asked about you doing something about what happened to Dr. Haffejee.
Correct.
Not to Governor.
Yeah, well,
I think let us confine ourselves to that.
Thank you, thank you, my lord, and my apologies.
Yeah.
Well, all I can tell you, sir, is that...
You know, I'm not sure if this might be an ideal time, considering the situation, to take the day. I can proceed, however...
How much time how long are you going to be with Mr. Gopal?
A while.
Yeah. Just answer the last part. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that... yeah, as far as the TRC is concerned, my part, as far as on Dr. Haffejee is concerned, I exposed that. As far as Colonel Governor's knowledge on him charging the killers of Dr. Haffejee, he should have attended to that. Period. And if I did not mention that to the TRC, it never occurred to me at that point in time. And when it did occur to me, my lord, was when the prosecution has sent a disc to Advocate Ahmed's, and then I collected, and well, my son collected that and then got it delivered to me. And when I went to the disc, I said, oh my word, what's going on over here? Because his affidavit says one thing, he says something else. He puts in his affidavit there's a gun against his head. There's nothing mentioned in the court about any gun against his head. What's going on over here? I'm trying to understand this.
Mr. Kopal,
Yes.
don't be angry with
No, I'm not.
Mr. Cavender.
I'm
He
not.
told us he forgave you long time ago.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
We're just interested in you telling us what you did about what had happened to Dr. Haffejee
Thank you.
years back.
There you go.
You say it's convenient time to take
Yes.
a break now.
Yes.
Okay. How much time? How much longer are you going to be with tomorrow morning?
Maybe an hour at least.
Oh, okay. Just to make sure you give
Everyone an opportunity.
Mr. Vane some time.
Have you got these? Yes.
You can't gobble up all the time. Okay, 1 hour, I think it's okay. Mr. Vane, we can give him 1 more hour.
Oh, he just won't go. Indeed, if he wants to come on, I suppose he wants to have fun.
Okay, no, that's all right. Okay, Mr. Kopal, we will proceed tomorrow. You also should take a break.
Thank you, my lord.
But don't be annoyed by Mr. Cavender. He forgave you long time ago. Okay?
My lord,
Don't be angry with
my
him.
lord, I'm not angry with him. I need to inform the court about that. But what I am saying, that if he forgave me a long time ago, why does he put a different version to this court and don't include it into his affidavit? But let's call that matter closed for now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll proceed tomorrow at 10. What's the date tomorrow? 14.
Lord.
Okay. We'll proceed tomorrow at 10. The court is adjourned.